Ahoy! And welcome to the Boating Hour with Captain Rick. The Boating Hour brings you the latest and greatest essential information about everything that sails, floats, or motors upon the high seas of Southern California. From landlubbers to old salts, there'll be something for everyone. So climb aboard and get ready to sail with Captain Rick.
Ahoy out there and welcome to the Boating Hour. I'm Captain Rick and I want to thank you for joining us here on AM 870. We're here every Saturday at 4 p.m. Please be sure to visit us on the web at theboatinghour.com. And now on social media, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble, The Boating Hour with Captain Rick. Thanks to our sponsors for a show today. For a healthy gut, the best probiotic on the market, Livia One Probiotics, natural, organic, and allergen-free. And if you listened to us last week, boy, we cut it short. I have in-studio guests back with us. Dennis, thanks for coming back in the studio to follow up with last week's show. And online, we've got Captain of the Westerly, Dave Moore, that just finished Transpac. We're going to give the whole show to him today. I want to remind everybody that our sponsor, Raycom Radios, we're going to be going up and down Southern California doing luncheons and radio communication seminars. I work with the Coast Guard Auxiliary, so you see them at every harbor. You'll see them, and I'm connecting and promoting and sponsoring, and I'm going to be donating time to the Sea Scouts. So we've got some Sea Scouts coming on the show in the very near future. The whole month of May, we're going to be promoting and talking and getting guests on for the Torrance Armed Forces Parade and then Fleet Week at the Battleship Iowa. And we're going to have somebody from the Coast Guard Auxiliary. That's the civilian volunteers that augment the Coast Guard, and we do patrols in the harbor and boater safety seminars. You can get your boater's card from the Coast Guard Auxiliary. I'm going to have somebody coming on talking about Boater Safety Week. But let's follow up with last week. Dennis, this is great you came back. I really appreciate it, and I want to thank Dave for being on the line. So, Dennis, take it away. I want to start out with a short summary. We did a longer summary about the history of Transpac. I call it the Holy Grail of races. Tell us a little bit about the origins and history of Transpac.
Transpac, of course, is the Trans-Pacific Yacht Race. Not quite all the way across the Pacific. It only races to Hawaii, but that's pretty far, halfway across, 2,200 miles. Of course, the race honors the former king of Hawaii, King Kalakaua, who passed away back in 1890, but thereabouts. And the first race took place in 1906. The race occurs every 2 years. The last race occurred in 2023. The next race is coming up in July of starting will be in 2025 at Point Fermin, San Pedro in the Los Angeles area. So we have now on the line, as Rick mentioned, we have the winner, the first to finish in his class, owner of the Westerly, the yacht Westerly, Dave Moore. Dave, how are you?
Good. Thank you, Dennis, for the intro.
You know, Dave, before we start, and I'm going to ask you a whole flurry of questions, how you got started in racing, about your yacht club, what inspired you to, with the time and the expense and the training of the crew to be on Transpac, but explain about maybe you could even go into the perf ratings and the first to finish, the corrected time, all this stuff that's so confusing to people. Explain what you won and maybe plug a few of the other boats that won a few of the awards. Explain about about that, because it is a little confusing to people, because most of us just watch the Olympics and track and field. The first person across the line wins.
Yeah, it is confusing, and this is a very technical corner of the sport, but it's intensely fun, and that's why we do it. So if you had the exact same boats on the race course, you call that one design racing, and the boats are identical, and there's no need for a handicap system. So they all have the same hull, they have the same sails, they all weigh the same, and that's Cal 20 racing, which Dennis is very familiar with, and I'm a Cal 20 racer. And so that's one design. The first boat across the finish line is first to finish, and that's that. And we all enjoy a cold one at the bar afterwards. So the next level is a handicap racing, and handicap racing dates back to the 1800s when dissimilar boats would race against each other. And originally it was super simple measurements. They would say, okay, the boat weighs this, and your boat weighs another, 2,000 pounds more. So I'm going to give you some time because you're going to be slower because your boat weighs 2,000 pounds more. And those very simple handicap systems were used in the original Transpac races because one of the boats was 60 feet and one of the boats was 80 plus feet. So they had a very simple handicap system. Today, we have a very sophisticated handicap system, and there's multiple systems that are available. The one that we use for Transpac is called ORR, and ORR is a offshoot of a system that was developed in the 1980s called Measurement Handicap System, which was developed by MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology. And it's based on a velocity prediction program. And instead of just taking simple inputs like length overall or length on the waterline, weight of the boat, sail area, VPPs use curves and they record hull shapes. And by LiDAR, you take the hull shape and you actually create a whole model of the boat, and then the velocity prediction program predicts how fast the boat will be. Each one is unique. And so ORR is the handicap system that we use, and so that allows dissimilar boats, 40, 50, 60, 100 boats, doesn't matter. They can all race against each other using ORR. And at the end of the day, on corrected time, which is a product of applying ORR to your elapsed time, your real elapsed time, corrected time yields the corrected time winner, which Westerly, known in 2023 as Westerly 52, officially, we won on corrected time, first overall on corrected time amongst all the boats.
How long did it take you to get to Hawaii?
It depends. In true elapsed time, the fastest run I've heard of with a 50-footer like Westerly is about 7.5 days. That's a very fast run. And the slower side is about 11.5 days.
Oh, my goodness.
So it's about a week or two. By the way, ORR stands for the Ocean Racing Rule. And connected with the ORC, the Ocean Racing Class.
I wish they had ORR when I was in high school so that, when I ran track and field, they could have adjusted for my slowness, my lack of training, sometimes being overweight and missing practices. And they could have corrected my time. I might have been a champion.
By the way, ORR, you're talking about ORR is a measurement rule based upon analysis of hulls and hull speed and all that sort of stuff. The other main handicap method that is used is PHRF, which is performance handicap or performance handicap handicapping, which is based upon actual, kind of like golf, right? The more you golf, the better your score is. They adjust your handicap for future rounds.
That's what I race. I raced the Cal 20 in the cruiser class in Marina Del Rey.
Oh,
the Cal Yacht Clubs.
You'd be a scratch boat because.
Well, I had a barbecue on that little railing. I had a little kitchen inside there. We were definitely, because we would cruise to Catalina and then come back and not take anything on. And I tell you, it was a fantastic. I shouldn't be plugging Jib Kelly Marine out there at your club, Korea Beach Yacht Club, because he owes me lunch. And I think he owes me 2 lunches. I donated my boat. I think I mentioned it last week. All right, let's get back to Dave. How often did your crew have to get out there and practice, or are you guys just sailors that you do so? Do you do other races as well? So that's kind of like how many questions did I ask you? 5 in one sentence.
Yeah, training is essential for both performance and for safety. You have to have your crew out and training. And sometimes the training is a race, an official race, and you sign up with the race with the understanding that you're using it as a training vehicle. Otherwise, you just get out there and go train and put up the sails and record your data and do your maneuvers and record your data. So it's very analytic intensive. If you talk about basketball analytics, football analytics, baseball analytics, well, there's yacht racing or sailboat racing analytics as well, and we're constantly refining those.
Wow, that is kind of exciting. Go
So,
ahead, Dave.
so Dave, so how did you find? I know you had a crack crew last time around. I guess you'll pretty much have the same crew this time. But how did you find your crew members?
Well, I thought about this question, Dennis, and it's sometimes you get lucky in life, and I've been extremely lucky. But it does start with the Cal 20. And we race Cal 20s in Cabrillo 26 times a year. Half the year the season is open, and every Wednesday night we go out and race. And I use the Cal 20 as a auditioning platform. So in entertainment industry, there's audition platforms for understanding what talent you have. Well, we take people out racing on the Cal 20, and it's a pretty intense and close-up environment, and you learn who you like sailing with and who probably should sail with somebody else. So and that's no knock on anybody. It's just the way. Sometimes you have chemistry, and sometimes you don't. So
let me interject here real quick. Cal 20, the largest Cal 20 fleet in America was in Marina Del Rey at one time. And when I was a wee bit young little whippersnapper, I raced Cal 20s. A lot of my friends' fathers had Cal 20s. And I ended up purchasing an abandoned Cal 20 in Marina Del Rey. And when I took possession of it, I had to sign a document that said this was the boat that, I don't know if it's true or not. I've actually written to the show. But apparently the Cal 20 I had with a very low hull number was the one that was used in the trailer for Three's Company. And I had to sign a document that I would never take out the glassed over of the hatch, because herein lied, I think it was either Suzanne Summers or the other gal in Three's Company, that apparently that's where they filmed the trailer, and I had that boat.
Joyce DeWitt.
Joyce DeWitt. So one of the two, that's where their bottom sat, and I wasn't allowed to cut that out and make an open, forward hatch. Of course, it's, all in good fun. But I may have had that, and I donated it to Jim Kelly, and it should be enshrined, and it should be like in front of the club. But the show has never written back to me, and it substantiated that. I tried to get pictures. But Cal 20 is a great boat. If you're listening, you want to know what the boat we're talking about, just watch the Three's Company in the trailer, and that is Marina Del Rey, that little segment on the Cal 20 looking at Santa Monica in the background.
Wow, that's interesting. I had already mentioned that we have like 25 or 30 Cal 20s in our yard over there, one of which is Dave's, your boat, Whisper. I can't remember. What's your sail number, Dave?
44.
44.
Oh,
so you have a very low number, too. Mine was 1939, and I heard that mine was the last Cal 20 made in California. After my boat was made, they moved the mold up to Canada, and they made a few more Cal 20s up there.
I can't remember my sail number, but it was a 1963 boat, I think. It was, and it had the early mast. They had two different masts on it. So by the way, I didn't glass over the where the engine sat I didn't glass over that, and I kept all my stanchions. I didn't change things around. I kept that boat kind of unique and original. Love the Cal 20. Okay, let's get back to you, Dave. Well, if you're listening to us now, this is the Boating Hour, and I've got two guests. I've got Dennis back in, and I've got Dave Moore from the Westerly, who did the Transpac and going to be doing this year's Transpac in July. Dave, let's talk about preparing for this year's Transpac. And I want to ask you one quick question before you answer that one. How'd you get started in sailing? Did you grow up with it, start late, or did you sail with your father like I did?
Yeah, I sailed with my dad, and it was, just the thing. I think I started when I was 8 years old, and we had an Islander 24 in King Harbor.
Oh, goodness. Fantastic.
And Dave's dad and I worked race committee many times together.
Oh, that's fantastic. Race committee's a lot of fun. Sometimes I enjoy being the mark set boat, taking pictures, and being part of race committee more than I do racing, especially when I used to do the lasers.
So back to, so how did you get into racing? Racing, yeah.
Yeah, let's go back to racing and Transpac, Dave.
Yeah, so at some point, when I think it was 10 or 11 years old, my dad got transferred to New York to work there, and we ended up living in a town called Northport. It was 40 miles out from the city. And at the time, Northport was pretty rural, but now I'm sure it's full suburban. Had a great yacht club there called Northport Yacht Club, and they were members of a yacht club association that hosted youth sailing all throughout the summer. So the day school was over, you reported to the yacht club, and you started sail training. And on the weekends, you went to regattas, and this would continue to the day before school went back into session. So looking back on it as an adult, I realized it was an evil plan to get the kid out of the house, and but it worked really well, and I really enjoyed it. And the other part of the evil plan was the little boats that we sailed were called Blue Jays, which are designed by Sparkman Stevens, and they were miniature Lightnings. Lightning was a slightly bigger version of the boat, also an S&S boat, and but every string that was on a Blue Jay was on your parents' boat. So if your parents had a 30-footer,
wow,
they had halyards, they had spinnaker pole, they had foreguy, they had afterguy, they had main sheet, jib sheet, and everything was tiny on the boats. They were 13.5 feet. But when you got on your parents' boat, after a few weeks of sailing a little boat, nothing confused you, it was really an ingenious system they had set up. You trained up thousands of young people, men and women, and so it was extremely successful organization.
You looking forward to the Olympics coming in, because it's going to be in your harbor?
It is amazing to watch the Olympics, and it's really great to hear that it's going to be in Southern California. And, our area, our particular pocket of water is really going to be pleasing to the Olympic athletes because we have wind. We have wind every afternoon in the summer, and it's just great.
I have a boat that follows me when I race that has a fan on it. And no, I joke. I have so much fun racing. It's and I've been all over. And I tell you, one of the things that I do, being part of yacht clubs, is use the reciprocals. A lot of people never leave their club, but I travel, and I'm very welcome whenever I travel. When I'm a guest, I've been all over the country and other parts of the world, and I get really welcomed. And of course, when I come to your club, I'm going to remind Jib he still owes me lunch. And I'm going to try to get a free couple rounds at the bar, and I hope my boat is being used. I hope it made it to your youth fleet. So are you guys training? Is your crew getting together and training right now to try to do a big repeat at Transpac?
Yeah, we are. We have been training, and we continue to train, and it's just an ongoing process.
Yeah, are you doing like the Islands race or the any of those? Ensenada race, any of that stuff?
So there are. Dennis is mentioning some of the lead-up races that are extremely useful. So Islands race just occurred this past weekend, and it was a light air affair. Nonetheless, there were a lot of entrants. We were not in it, but the next race up is called the Channel Islands 500.
Right.
And we actually designed that race to start just off of Santa Barbara Yacht Club. It'll be beautiful. Start race on a Friday, and the boats will be right offshore from Santa Barbara Yacht Club, right from the beach there. And they'll start, and they'll head for San Miguel Air Region, and then they'll go past between the islands, Channel Islands, and then they'll go offshore. And they'll do a number of zigzags to be determined by the race committee, ostensibly 500 miles, and they'll end up on a virtual finish line about 30 miles off of San Diego.
Wow.
And it's going to be a great race, and it's really well conceived. The race committee is able to alter the course with 24 hours in advance. They'll set the virtual waypoints that you'll be rounding. So if there isn't very much wind, it might be a shortened race with less zigzags. If there's more wind, it'll be the full-on 500 miles, zigzagging down the coast around virtual GPS-defined marks.
Wow, that's like a dynamic race course. That's amazing.
You know, I love
It's
Santa
really-
Barbara.
really smart.
I
Yeah,
love
I do
that
too.
club. I love Santa Barbara. I love the town. I love the museum. I've had the guys at the Maritime Museum on. I've been to Santa Barbara Yacht Club. I'll end the show with this great story about Santa Barbara. I was a big fan and on race committee, took pictures, and I had a lot of friends on starboats. Used to be an Olympic boat. It was an Olympic boat for 100 years. It's no longer an Olympic class because it's such a difficult boat. And I had a friend that was a starboat racer. He knew me from, race committee and regattas. And he said he lost his crew. It's a two-man boat, and he wanted me to be his crew. So I went to Santa Barbara, and I'm a little guy. And if you know starboats, there's a minimum. I think the minimum is like 300 pounds, or I'm not sure what it was. So they laughed when we came up to register, almost didn't let me the boat in the regatta because we didn't make the minimum weight. They had to give us this little sandbag. We were like 5 pounds under. Oh, yeah. And I couldn't right the boat. When we got to a start to flatten the boat, I couldn't lean out fast enough. I mean hard enough. And I went to that club. So we ended up getting knocked out. It was a 2-day race. So the second day I was at the clubhouse, and the daughter of one of the founding members had an autographed framed picture from an early 1900 front page news. Her father was in the big regatta, or the first regatta the club did. It's probably on the wall right now, and he went the wrong way. Oh. And he was one of the oilmen. He's one of the founders of the club, and the lady was a wonderful lady. I'm going back 10, 15, 20, I'm not sure how many years. And so she was, in her 90s then, and that was in her house, and she donated it to the club. And I got that story from her. It was absolutely amazing. So anybody that has reciprocals, make it to Santa Barbara Yacht Club. If you're not a member of a yacht club, go there anyway, and they'll give you a tour and talk to you about joining. That's my Santa Barbara Yacht Club story.
Oh, Santa Barbara is a great area. Yeah, and it's a great club up there. I agree. Let me back up to the Santa Barbara and I think it ends near San Diego with that dynamic race, and isn't that part of the California 500? So a bunch of boats from San Francisco will race down a couple of legs down to Santa Barbara, and then race in the race that you're talking about, the one that starts in Santa Barbara and then goes to San Diego.
Yeah, this is what you're referring to, Dennis. Is a little later in the season. There's a feeder race to the SoCal 300, and the SoCal 300 is the one that is also starts in the Santa Barbara area and zigzags around the islands and then ends up in San Diego.
Okay, are you planning on doing that one?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Great. When does that take place?
It is, I believe, in May.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so that's a feeder basically into the Transpac.
Racing and yacht club membership and boating is really growing. It's on its way back. But for a couple of years, we got a boost. It was the only thing people could do for 3 years was go camping or go sailing or boating.
That's right, during COVID, yeah.
Yeah, we got to. Well, Dave, I want to thank you for being on the line. I'm going to invite you guys back to talk about some of the races that you mentioned today. Dennis as well. You're always welcome. So I want to thank you guys for coming and being on the show.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
And, of course, your yacht club, CBYC, Cabrillo Beach Yacht Club. Look it up. CBYC.org, right?
Yeah, that's right, CBYC.org. And, of course, we're hosting the ILCA Youth World Championship in July, and the website for that is at laserinternational.org.
Lasers. I used to be on lasers, but you got to have a wetsuit because you certainly do get wet. Well, that's all the time that we have for you today. I hope you enjoyed our show. As always, we're so very fortunate to have such wonderful and exciting guests. And I want to thank the Coasties. Don't forget the Coasties, protecting our waters, America's lifesavers and guardians of the sea. Lots of Coast Guard and Coast Guard Auxiliary coming up in the future shows. And remember, if you do it right and follow the guidelines and safety precautions, there's no place like being out on the water in the fresh air and sunshine in beautiful, sunny Southern California. Thanks to our sponsors for the show today. For a healthy gut, Livia One, probiotics, and Raycom radios, reliable two-way radios throughout Southern California. And, of course, stay tuned for some of the events we're going to do at yacht clubs up and down L.A., Orange County, and San Diego. We're going to go to yacht clubs and do seminars, talk about radios. I'll have the Coast Guard Auxiliary out there as well. We're going to be plugging the Coast Guard and all the events that they're in. So you're going to see them at Fleet Week and at the Armed Forces Parade as well. Keep your emails coming. You can reach me at CaptainRick@theboatinghour.com. This is Captain Rick saying ahoy and fair winds to all.